New coach, new identity. Let's get physical with Glen Gulutzan.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Welcome to a Friday edition of Locked On Stars, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. The Dallas Stars and Glen Gulutzan want to be more physical next season, so they are ready for Game 83. They are ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, how are they going to do that? I'm going to share with you today an article from D Magazine by Sean Shapiro. Some excellent work by Sean Shapiro, as always, to tell you how Glen Gulutzan plans to do that. Also, Roope Hintz is a part of the top 20 centers in the NHL. Find out where he fell in the rankings, and some Dallas Stars and some Finnish hockey players, Finnish NHLers, I should say, were a part of a beer league game not too long ago. I want to share that feel-good story as well with you on today's show a bit later on. But this article from Sean Shapiro, of course, a wonderful writer. He's a part of DLLS as well, who every once in a while we have on Sam Nestler from the show, and sometimes I hop on there as well. But Glen Gulutzan's renovation of the Stars begins with physicality. And Glen mentioned this during his press conference, and of course he said all the right things during that press conference about trying to raise 1 degree through 82 games of physicality, gradually implementing more physicality so the Stars are ready for those playoff battles. And Glen Gulutzan talked about when they get to those moments, when you get down to the Western Conference Finals, it's all about that hand-to-hand combat. And he's hoping he can bring that to the Dallas Stars. And he got a first-hand experience of knocking out the Stars in the Western Conference Finals in back-to-back seasons. And it says here that General Manager Jim Nill, of course, mentioned the Stars' lack of playoff physicality, and to address that, he brought back Radek Faksa. He brought Nathan Bastian, who he signed about a month ago now as well. And those are guys that are not going to light up the stat sheet. They're not sexy, of course, but they bring a little bit of that greasiness, that grit on the fourth line. And I think we're going to see a lot of Bastian. That's just my prediction right off the hop. Although he was a really, really late signing, I think there's a place for him in the lineup. I think there's a role for him. And I don't think the Stars would have made that signing, even if it was so late, without the intention of giving him minutes. And I think there's going to be a role for him on that fourth line. And it says here, it has given us a glimpse into what the Stars' identity will be under Gulutzan and how Dallas will try to replicate what the Florida Panthers did by going far more of a glamour team to a tenacious group that has won back-to-back Stanley Cup champs. Now, is that a goal that is too lofty? Of course. And, Sean, of course, as well, kind of dampers those expectations. Everybody wants to be like Florida now, especially the way they've won the past couple of years, and that's just not really attainable for the Dallas Stars at this point in time. But I think this also speaks to some of what Pete DeBoer was trying to do when he came into the fold 3-4 years ago now. And he talked about how the Stars' identity, they were a defensive team under Bonus, how structured they were. They did an excellent job of not giving up goals. The offense was a bit hit or miss, and it was his job to keep that identity because that is a good identity to have, but add a more developed, more layered offense, and we got some of that from Pete DeBoer during his Stars tenure. Then the defense personnel started to get changed up, and maybe they lost some of that identity. Just piece by piece. But at the end of the day, their core were still really good defensively, and they scored. And they got better than average goaltending more often than not. And I think this is how Gulutzan has to go about his business is just ingraining extra pieces of physicality. Each individual has to take responsibility of this goal that Gulutzan is trying to provide. And Sean does an excellent job of breaking this all down. Please go read it in its entirety, as always. And he said, Gulutzan told D Magazine, it's not just hitting. It's in the rubbing and the racing, the heavy corners, and holding pucks, that part of the game. I think it's going to be even more important this year, just with the schedule being a shortened season for the Olympics. So it's important to have guys that understand their role, so it's easier to build a team that's ready for the next step. I love this part right here. Ready for the next step, and playoff hockey becomes a step, not a switch. And Dallas, especially last year, limping into the Stanley Cup playoffs, they just had to flip the switch, and they did all right at that for a couple of rounds. But once again, they faltered in the Western Conference Final. And it says here, that's a fine mantra for depth players. But now the bigger problem is top-line players. A Jason Robertson, a Hintz, a Johnston. Give credit to Robo. I think he's added that to his game a bit, that physicality, not afraid to finish checks, which is great to see. Roope, on the other hand, that's going to be something Glen Gulutzan, I feel like, is going to put a lot of pressure on him to add to his game. And hopefully he can stay healthy doing it. Because when Roope's fully healthy and going, Stars are a really, really damn good team. And when he's off his game or he's hurt like he was again in the Western Conference Final, the Stars just don't have that type of punch coming out of the one hole. And maybe Wyatt Johnston can fill that eventually. But is he going to be able to start to add that to his game? Johnston's still really, really young. It's going to be on the burden of players like Mikko Rantanen even. And Roope Hintz now, Robo. This core of players that have to add this to their game. They can't just skate by anymore. And it says, I've coached star players. Gulutzan says, you're not going to ask them to run around for 82 games. It just doesn't work, and that's not the league. But where you are going to ask them to do is pick up their physicality a little bit, where it becomes more of a habit. When you've done all the work and you've closed on an opponent, and then he moves the puck and you don't have to kill him, but you just skate shoulder to shoulder with him, keep trying to play hockey. That stuff has got to go. Making that stuff go will make our whole group a little tougher to play against. Exactly. Finishing some checks here or there. And that internally will speed up defensemen. Talk about forecheck. Why do you think Florida has so much success with this tenacious way they go about their forecheck? They're more of a dump and chase team. They play the body. But when you do that over a period of time, then teams start to get that internal clock in their head. Defensemen, especially, like whether you're close or not, they start thinking, there's going to be a person on me. There's a guy that is ready trying to clean my clock. I got to move it quicker. And then you can create turnovers that way because of what you did for, let's say, 25, 30 minutes of game. You've established this is what it's going to be like to play against us. We are going to finish checks. If you're a defenseman and you have your back turned to the play and you retrieve the puck, there's going to be a guy on you and he's going to finish the check immediately after you get rid of the puck. Then you can start making turnovers. Teams can start making turnovers, and then you can capitalize offensively on that as well. He says here he's passionate about this vision. He says no coach is going to come in and make any team 25% better. They will make themselves better, 1% better, 1% more adept for the playoffs, one game at a time if they make that stuff more natural. I've talked to each guy, and I've said the exact same thing. We need to up the ante there, 1 degree at a time, so that it becomes a norm for our entire group. And I love to hear that quote, that he's already talked to these guys, and this is going to be the expectation. This is going to be the tone. And it's something that I hope we get to see pretty evident right off the hop, that it becomes more of a habit. That's what I like, the way he characterizes that. You all know, sometimes I have a tough time with the physicality conversation. Of course, I want Dallas to play with some snarl, but how I define some physicality, or I think most people, or at least sometimes you hear, it's just trying to run around, take heads off. I like how he phrases it, making it a habit. You have to have elite players. It says here, you had to ask the elite players to use their skills and smarts to check, not to deliver body checks, but to check and add a little bit of physicality each shift. He talks about McDavid and Draisaitl started to do that, and he wants Roope and other guys in the group to build that confidence, which I think is fantastic to hear, fantastic to read as well. Sean Shapiro, phenomenal as always. It's on D Magazine, no paywall there. So go give it a read, and we get to hope we see this new identity for Dallas, maybe a bit more greasiness in there, and some of the additions in the offseason. I know it wasn't a lot here in free agency, but they're looking to bring some more of that back into their game, and looking forward to seeing how it all turns out. Now, Roope Hintz, who wants to be more physical, where does he fall in the top 20 centers of the NHL? Is he cracking the top 10? I'll let you know in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day, and you suddenly realize you just want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes it possible. It's fast, it's simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. They got incredible deals, last-minute deals, clear seat views, and the lowest price guaranteed. That takes all the worry out of buying. It's also the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, which, of course, is part of our Locked On Podcast Network. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the code LOCKED, own NHL, Locked On NHL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So the NHL Network continues to put out their top 20 lists right now in the NHL. I believe this is the final list that we are graced with, and I always like to run over these. But Roope Hintz finds himself in this conversation. I think the Stars have somebody in it, and each one of these lists. I don't think there's been a goalie one, actually, and that one is always going to be controversial. So I don't think there's been a goalie one. I believe there is one more to go. But Roope Hintz was a part of this list, and this season he comes in at number 17. Yeah, number 17 for Roope. And I have some expectations for Roope, because I think most of last year, when I look at it, and I talked about this a bit when we did our season grades, just a smidge bit disappointed with Roope, because I just believe there's another level in there that he can get to, and maybe even more bluntly has to get to, as the Stars' number one center. If that's what going to be his role, he has to be at a better level. He has to go up a notch. And it was unfortunate. He got hurt this last playoff run. He had a really, really good start. I mean, 12.17 games is pretty good. And he was basically playing the final, 3 or 4 games of that Western Conference final on one foot. But I went back and did a double take at just some of the numbers. And you look at his offensive rating. This is via Hockey Stat Cards, plus 8.6, but his defensive rating was minus 0.3. And that sort of goes against what we think about Roope and how great he is defensively. He didn't grade out very well this past season as a defender, but we all know what he can do with the puck. He got really hot at points sort of late in the season. Him and Robo were just really mixing. 28 goals, 39 assists, 67 points, 76 games. It's not bad. Roope needs to be point per game, or at least he's got to be hovering around there. Like 80 plus points is sort of where I'm putting my expectations on Roope. And I think he's a great player. He's still in his prime. He's 28, going to be 29 this next season, and playing potentially with the Robo and Rantanen. I think there's no better situation for him. He needs to be a guy. We look at. I feel like Roope sometimes gets left out of the conversation when we look at players that could be X factors, or players that they have to rely on in the postseason. And I think Roope needs to to force himself into that conversation. You ranked 14th last year among the top 20 centers, just to give you an idea of how some of the rankings went. Sam Bennett 20th, Celebrini 19th, Thompson, Stutzel, Larkin, Heischer, Aho, Thomas, and Jack Hughes are in front of Roope. And I think it's fair to say Roope needs to be hovering in that top 10 area for what he can be, what his potential, his talent is. That's where I see Roope Hintz. He was 14th last season, but I think he can play himself into that top 10 area with a big year. He can play two ways. He gets a chance to play on a really, really good line. Who knows how it all works out, shakes out. Maybe he gets dropped down a spot. Maybe it takes a bit lower of a burden, or allows him to play with some different line mates even. This is a season for Roope to really go out and prove he deserves to be a 1C, right? He needs to be a 1C. It's funny, on Elite Prospects, they have him as a left winger. It's just not the case. And maybe he plays wing this year too. Maybe there's a chance that he does flip over, and it takes a little burden off himself. I also surprised how young he is. He's just 28. I feel like I've talked about over the summer, well, he's going to start slowing down at some point. And yeah, he is going to, but he's 28, man. He's still in the prime. Unfortunately, I know some injuries have caught up with him. It's been hard for him to stay healthy every other year, but like 76 games played, 80, 73, 80. Like he's playing in quite a bit of them. The postseason has been a bit different of an animal, but that's where if he plays with a bit more of an edge, plays with the mentality that Gulutzan is trying to get the Stars to play with, maybe that helps him stay a bit healthier. First off, it may keep players from going after him. We see like teams have gone after him. Look at what the Oilers did. They just kept whacking away at him, and nobody stood up for him. Not himself, really, because really couldn't. And it seemed like teammates were either. So I think potentially under this new regime now gives Roope a chance, a bit of a new life to some degree. Maybe he starts to change his mindset, start to change his approach, sort of what Tyler Seguin had to do in some ways different, but in some ways under Ken Hitchcock, started to play that two-way game, had to adapt. And as Roope's speed goes, and Roope's always been fast, but and Seguin had a bit of a jump too in his younger days. But maybe Roope, it's time for him, just because of the injuries, potentially his body has to start adapting to some degree. Maybe he's not there yet, but he's got to start that process of being a more choosy player. And what I'm trying to get at, I suppose, is don't just rely on your foot speed, which is amazing. Like he can get up and gallop. It's fun to watch, but that's going to go. Look at a guy like Pav. Skating was never his strong suit, but he found a way. Seguin, similar, was never as fast as Roope. Maybe that's just recency bias. I don't think Tyler was skating as fast as Roope was even in his younger days, but his body can only take so much, some surgeries, and he had to change his style, how he went about his business. And maybe there's a chance for Roope under Glen to make a slight switch. Again, maybe 1% here or there, and it makes him hopefully a better player. And I believe he should be. I think it's crazy he doesn't have a season where he's been a point per game outside of 2020, 21, and that was a weird year. But the schedule was short, and he had 43 points in 41 games. I'll give him credit there, but I think he should be around 80 points. I think that's the bar for him. And he had 75 points in 73 games. So now that I'm looking at it, so maybe I need to cool it a bit. So he had some good seasons, but I want a season that launches him like, okay, he's a Selke candidate, maybe a Lady Bing, right? Like that type of game. So I hope we can see that from Roope this upcoming season. But he falls in at number 17th number 17 on the top 20 centers right now. Of course, a lot of good players. I'll give you the full top 10 from 1 to 10. McDavid, McKinnon, Draisaitl, Barkov, Crosby still. It's crazy. Crosby, Eichel, Matthews, Braden Point, Scheifele, and Nick Suzuki round out your top 10 NHL centers right now from the NHL Network. Now, speaking of Roope Hintz and some of his Finnish teammates, there was a great story out this past week about Roope and some other Finn NHL players that joined a beer league back in their home country. I'll tell you more about that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day. We're 4 days away, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Take a flyer on an MVP race, crown your champion in August, parlay your division winner with dark horses. It's going to be a ton of fun. Football's right around the corner. Cannot wait. Got the Cowboys in just under a month now. You can visit the FanDuel app. Start planning your futures bets today. It's so much fun because Futures Day is 1 day and 1 day only. FanDuel, play your game. So this is an article I quote tweeted on Locked On Stars. Be sure to follow us at Locked On Stars on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days. And this article was written by Valtteri on, I believe it's Krajula. I really apologize, Valtteri, if I totally butchered your last name. I'm pretty decent with the Finns just because as Stars fans, we have to see a lot of Finn names come our way. But anyways, great article. And I want to share some of it with you. It just talks about how hockey, of course, is very popular in Finland, especially during the winter time. And there's a bunch of beer league games going on, right? There's a adult league, just like in DFW and stuff. But it says Finland is a small country by population, so players like Miro Heiskanen may be familiar to many, or someone might have once played on the same team as Roope Hintz. And it talks about here in the Hetero-Niemi Ice Hall in Helsinki, a regular weekly session takes place every Monday evening. These sessions usually begin in mid-August and continue through early May. During the summer, Finns turn to sports like Finnish baseball, and they just enjoy what is a short summer season. But it says here, every Monday night, a group of friends gather for a hockey game where former professional player Siim Livik picks his own team, while the opposing side is built by Finland's most popular rap artist. It says Ville Galli. It says the teams play a season-long series with each session counting as one game win, and the games are also streamed on YouTube. So it's been a pretty cool hockey community. But anyways, it says here that in a session just a few weeks ago, Miro Heiskanen, Mikael Granlund, Roope Hintz, Tara Väinen, Anton Lundell, Joel Kiviranta, and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen all joined the game on a Monday. And they went ahead and played. It was free to the public as well, which is awesome. It's always free, so they kept it free. And a couple of these NHL stars came down to play, and they said it was just an awesome time. It ended up finishing 9-8. Joel Kiviranta scored the winning goal in the shootout. He seems to have a knack for scoring some big time goals. Maybe this is the biggest goal of this weekly beer league game. It says here, in case you just want to read into too much, and that's what we're going to do here. The caption of the picture of Miro Heiskanen says, passes were as sharp as ever, and his skating looked effortless. Woo! That is great to hear, of course, after what he dealt with last season in injury. It all seemed like they had a blast. And it said after the game, and this is great to see, it said many fans had come to see the game. And then the NHL stars actually came to the lobby. It says players took time to sign autograph, pose for photos, chat with fans. None of them seemed to be in a hurry. Roope and Miro, they practiced there actually during the Global Series when they were in Finland. but it said it was just an awesome time. And it also mentioned Roope and Miro are planning to come back to Dallas in September, and they get ready for the upcoming NHL season. But there's some great pictures in here of Miro and Roope, and of course Granlund, a former Stars teammate that's now going to be playing with Anaheim. But some awesome stuff there, and just really, really cool that those guys just showed up, had a good time, and I bet for some of those adult league guys, it was a thrill of a lifetime. And so good on Miro and some of the boys, really all of them. Terrifying, Pekka Luukkonen, great to see Kivi Ranta there as well. Good on all of them for doing that, and really neat of them to stay behind, do autographs and such. Not that that's a big surprise, just seems like their nature. I would have expected nothing less. Not a lot of this was a huge surprise, I guess, just based off what we know about them, their culture. And I just thought that was a great story. It is quote tweeted on Locked On Stars. Give it a read. Some really, really great stuff in there. And appreciated getting to read that. That's something good I get to leave you with here as we kick you off into your weekend. But thank you for another great week here on Locked On Stars. Drop a comment. Hit the notification bell, never miss an episode. You can follow me at JoyTheJet19 on X. Follow Locked On Stars, as I said, as well. Let's continue to pump up those numbers. I want to get to 5,000 subscribers. We're, 400 or 500 subs away from that. So let's start to pump up those numbers. Maybe get there around opening night here in a couple of months. And, we can hit the ground running, but having a great time so far. It's been a great week here in Corpus Christi. For those of you that don't know, I am the voice of the Corpus Christi Ice Rays, and we had a great season last year. We actually are under new management now, so we're doing some new things, and it's been a really, really fun week, and it's going to be a lot of new faces, so I'm kind of busy doing that, like sort of the full-time job, but the boys just got back in town, and my mood immediately just went up, get with the guys, and it's almost here. Hockey's almost here. It was a good summer. I enjoyed being a bum, but I'm ready to get back to it, and start to grind again. But have a great rest of your day, Stars fans. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you on a Monday. Ready to kick off another week. So long.